bit of selfishness in it about the next level.
It's only Newman. Run for over 100 yards and sacked this time. Back to the 15-yard line by Taylor Wyndham. He got rocked. And Tim Tebow is down. Tim Tebow is supine. Tim Tebow is shaken up.
Very simply put, a concussion is an alteration in brain function. It is a disturbance that's usually temporary. The brain quits working normally. Most commonly, it depends on what area of the brain is affected, whether it's areas that govern such things as thinking, speech, vision, or any of the connecting pathways that interact with one another. The most common things that you might see would be symptoms of headache. They might seem dazed or confused. You might not be able to have them answer questions the way you think is appropriate. They may exhibit symptoms of amnesia. They might not remember having eaten breakfast that morning, or they might not have remembered how they got hurt. They may stumble. They may not be able to remain in a standing position without moving. Many of those types of things are common manifestations. There is a variable length of recovery time. We like to say that 80 to 85% of athletes will resolve their concussion in 7 to 10 days. And for the most part, that's true. There are, though, a small percentage, 10%, that will take longer than that. And they can take as long as 3 weeks to 3 months. Time is probably the most important ally that you have on your side.
I would say it's a much smaller percentage than what was previously undiagnosed. I think we're doing a much better job diagnosing them now, and that's why you've seen the increase in them. I think if you look back 10, 15 years ago, a lot of people thought you had to lose consciousness to have a concussion. A lot of people thought if you just got your bell rung that it wasn't truly a concussion. The media push the last couple of years has helped people realize that we missed a lot of concussions previously, and a lot of that was just miseducation by a lot of people. I think athletic trainers for years have been diagnosing them fairly accurately. A lot of the challenge has been in high school populations where there's not a qualified healthcare provider on the sideline, where coaches have been misinformed, parents have been misinformed. There's pressure for the athletes to participate. There's kind of the He-Man syndrome of, I'm not going to tell anybody this because if I tell somebody I have a concussion, I'm going to be pulled from participation. So I think we're doing a better job educating parents, coaches, athletes. I think the attitude is really starting to change in concussion identification and management. It used to be kind of a sissy if you got your bell rung and you pulled yourself out of sports, and now it's kind of like, oh, wait, you have a concussion, we got to protect you a little bit more. So I think we're seeing a much better job being done with it. There's still a long way to go.
It was a breath of fresh air in the Windy City. In the mid-'80s, Jim McMahon won 22 straight games, a record that stood until Peyton Manning broke it in 2009.
McMahon looking to deal. He fires the left side of the end zone. Ah!
The way McMahon did it made him.
How is your short-term memory these days?
Short-term memory is not good. I won't remember a hell of a lot about this interview in about 10 minutes, probably. I mean, that's Lori.
There are days that he gets up and he comes into the kitchen. He doesn't know why he went into the kitchen. He gives me a kiss goodbye. He's going to the mailbox. And 20 minutes later, I see he's still in the kitchen, wandering aimlessly around the kitchen. And he said, where was I going? What was I doing?
And that's when the anger kind of comes in once in a while. He's like, you dumbass, why are you doing this? What were you doing this for? Why are you in this room?
Plevrides is a 6'2", 230-pound freshman linebacker. At practice, he gets injured in a helmet-to-helmet collision.
I remember him coming home that night, a little bit concussed. You're kind of weary. You don't really know what's going on.
In a game 4 days later, Plevrides tells the LaSalle trainer his head hurts. The trainer sends him to the student health clinic where he is diagnosed with a concussion. But 2 days later, a nurse tells Plevrides he can return to play after sitting out one game.
Was he symptom-free at that time?
No, he was never symptom-free. Not at all.
Why do you say that?
He always complained about headaches.
And how did he deal with it?
Advil, handfuls at a time.
Plevrides plays in 2 games without incident. Then, on November 5th, 2005, with 2:42 left in a game against Duquesne University in Pittsburgh, he tries to make a tackle on a punt return.
He went down like a ton of bricks. I mean, he hit the ground and he was out.
Today, 24-year-old Preston Plevrides is the face of concussion and consequence. He struggles to eat, walk, and talk 4.5 years after his injury. Do you remember the hit that you took on the field?
No. When I came in my back,
What do you remember about the Duquesne game?
and I'm
And we remember back in May, it sent shivers down the spines of not just current but former football players and, for that matter, NFL fans everywhere. Seau found dead on May 2nd at his home in California, apparently from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. And he shot himself in the chest here to preserve his brain, many believe here, so it could be studied for the impact of concussions and the inevitable damages that attach after it. Now, Junior Seau, he played in the league for 20 seasons, one of 5 former NFL players who took their own lives just over the last 7 years. Now, many of those suicides, experts believe, may be linked to repeated head injuries sustained playing a sport so violent it's been described like being a car crash every 5 minutes. Now, concussions, they've been linked to a degenerative brain disease known as CTE. The disease been linked to drug abuse, impulse control problems, impaired memory, depression, and, even as we just said, suicide, but can only be diagnosed after the death. Now, Andrew, you've been looking into this, and we got obviously a big lawsuit that the NFL is going to have to address sooner than later.